All right, cosmonauts. Hopefully you guys are still filtering back in. I just want to announce our next speaker, Joseph Al Chami, product manager at Figment at the Graph. Joseph, come on up, man.
Thank you. Test. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Al Chami, and I am product manager at Figment, leading our core dev team working on the graph. Before I start talking about the subject of my presentation, building infrastructure for a multi-chain world, and before I talk about Figment and the graph, I would like to take a step back and ask two questions. What is Web3, and what would the impact of Web3 be on our daily lives? So I love to always engage with people in this community by asking them those questions, because every single time we get a different answer. And it's amazing to see that everyone here in this space have something they believe in, something that motivates them to build and to keep working into the space. And so for right now, since everyone has like a different answer for what is Web3, we are seeming like Web3 is some kind of many-faced God, where each person sees something in Web3 that they love, like privacy, ownership, and a lot of different things. But I guess as a collective community, we started converging towards one definition of Web3, and we started to understand on the collective vision what is Web3 actually, and that is that Web3 is a platform for decentralized applications. So instead of just seeing one face at a time, Web3 is actually all these faces. So Web3 is kind of like the wall that contains all these faces. And the second question that I ask is, what would the impact of Web3 be on our daily lives in the next couple of years? I also get a lot of different answers, because everyone's going to be thinking about what they need from Web3 and what they would love to have from Web3. And some things that we know for sure that Web3 is going to be providing us and impacting our lives is, first, we're going to have a much decentralized future. And we are creating this kind of permissionless philosophy where people don't have to apply for a job to actually get a job. We are creating this space where you can permissionlessly just contributing and start getting rewarded for this contribution. And something that's been happening in the last couple of weeks, I think it started because Elon Musk tweeted about how could we end poverty in Africa. And when we think about these type of problems, like on the large global scale, we ask the question, how could we end poverty in Africa? And what is the problem with ending poverty in Africa, let's say, is that because we have a lot of money actually being transferred to Africa, but a lot of them being stolen, and we don't know where they're going, we don't have visibility over them, and we don't have accountability, we don't know how to blame. So imagine in the future, we can create a protocol for a mission. So we will have a purpose or mission-based protocol. Let's say we want to end the poverty in Africa. We create a protocol, a blockchain, just for that. And we create economic incentives for people to be contributing for this mission. And we will have visibility over where the token is going and who's using it. And if someone misbehaves, we can slash them. So we can create a complete vision where each problem could have a blockchain and protocol for it. And this is something that really makes me love the space and hopeful about what we're doing. But that is just a part of the impact. And there's a lot of things that's going to happen that we don't know for now what it is. And so for now, we need to keep solving the equation. We need to solve the equation. And I'm going to explain what I mean by solving the equation. And I'm going to give you this example of these three gentlemen over here that I love. Back at their time, we used to believe that the Earth is the center of the universe, and the sun rotates around us. And then these three gentlemen over here had a different view. They were saying it's not that way. It's actually the Earth that rotates around the sun. And their life was in danger. They were being sent to prison. They were being sent to exile for these thoughts because they were so controversial back at the days. But they kept fighting for it, and they kept trying to prove that they are right. And if you would ask them what would the impact of their discovery be, they wouldn't have a clue. They knew it's important, and they fought for it, but they didn't know what will the impact exactly be. And the impact of their discovery had changed completely our life. Like, if you read more about it, you will see how much it changed our life. It created something called the rise of science. It was the drive force of the Renaissance movement, philosophy, art, everything. Everything in our life changed after those three gentlemen because a simple fact. What they did is they changed the way we see the world. They literally changed the way we see the world. Those three gentlemen changed the way we see the world. So the impact of such discovery is unimaginable. And right now, this is what we're doing here in this space, is that we are changing the way we see the world. For thousands of years, we've been like always thinking in a centralized thought process that there are central entities, they have the answers, they know what they're gonna be doing, they're gonna help us solve our problems, but more and more we're getting into more problems. So it's not anymore about centralized power, centralized entities, it's about decentralization. It's about all of us collaborating and coming to a certain vision and working on it. And so what does it mean in our daily lives right now, in our time, solving the equation, the same as they did, that is building the infrastructure. So we need to start building, and we are building the infrastructure upon which the future is going to be built on. And when you look at a lot of pioneers in our ecosystem, you realize that that was their vision. They were always thinking about the infrastructure and building the infrastructure. And Cosmos is actually one of these examples. So Cosmos wanted to be the internet of blockchain. So what they did is they created the infrastructure like Tendermint and Cosmos SDK. So builders could come into the space and they want to build like a blockchain. They want to focus on their projects. They want to build something they love. They didn't have to figure out all the entire system. They could just use the infrastructure provided by Cosmos, focus on what they want to do, and then start scaling their operations. And this is something we did also at Figment. We were thinking about the infrastructure. And the first question we ask ourselves is, what do we want to achieve? And that was, we want to achieve decentralization. And how are we going to get decentralization if most applications are built on top of two blockchains? It's never going to happen. We need a lot of blockchains. We need to increase the number of blockchains. And so we took the mission that we want to start launching as much as possible proof-of-stake networks. And the first type of infrastructure that the blockchain need to actually launch is validator infrastructure. So they will need nodes to start securing this blockchain so they will be able to run their operations. And we start providing a lot of validator infrastructure. And as of today, we are very proud to say that we launched more than 35 proof-of-stake networks. And then directly after, we were asking the question, what does validator need? And validator are like helping securing the network, and they needed data about their own operations to know if they have like 100% up runtime, or they're actually doing some good work or not. So they needed to start getting information about their own operations. And this is what we started doing with Hubble. Hubble was the first block explorer on Cosmos. So we start collecting this data and we start providing it to all the other nodes, operators, validators, to start actually know more and more about their ops. And we help them be a better node operators. And then directly we start realizing that there's a lot of need for blockchain data for custom indexes. And this is where things started to get very interesting, is that as this blockchain is scaling and a lot of people are coming in, the value of blockchain data is increasing every single day by factor of something unimaginable. And so we wanted to start helping these people getting into the space. They wanted to build like a project, they want to build a startup, they had something in their mind, and they needed actually blockchain data to provide for their operations. But everyone who actually tried to access blockchain data know how much it's complicated to be collecting this data yourself or to be actually managing RPC nodes. And so there was a huge ask and demand for someone to help these developers getting into the space to have access to data. And that's what we did at Figment. We created Data Hub, a blockchain data infrastructure for people to use. And then that's how we started our journey as indexers and collecting blockchain data. And then we met the Graph. And the Graph is a decentralized protocol for indexing and querying data from blockchains. So kind of what we were doing, but in a decentralized way. And now the question that we had a lot is, why did we decide to join the Graph? We had a good product working and having a lot of usage. So why did we decide to join the graph. And that is very simple, because no one could compete with decentralization. As simple as that. If you have a solution that is working, but it's centralized, and someone else is doing in a decentralized way, they're going to win. We can't compete with decentralization. No one can compete with decentralization. And the proof for that is everyone here that maybe use AWS servers, they know that they are relying on a single point of failure. And so when the cloud went down, all the businesses and applications built on top of the server went down. And it recently happened also with Facebook. Like their server went down and all the other applications went down. That is because there's a single point of failure. And so decentralization, you will have as many nodes as you can possibly have. If one of them fails, you'll have all the others. And this is the power of the graph, is that it's completely decentralized. And as of today, we have 161 indexers. So if one of them goes down, there's 160 other. And so the question was, if the graph is decentralized, meaning no one could control the graph, how would the graph know what to index and which type of data to collect? Because in a centralized product, we would say to our product, get this data, we think it's important, and provide it to the entire community. But in a decentralized system, we can't do it because no one could control this protocol. It's completely decentralized. So how would the graph know what to index? And we needed to create something like a form of communication between builders and data users and the protocol. And this type of communication is what we call the subgraph. So the subgraph, you can see it as the communication that will bridge the builder and the protocol. And the builders gonna come and they will create a subgraph. In this subgraph, they're gonna manifest their need. So if you look at this graph over here, we could see that this first cube is the blockchain. And each color represents a different type of data. So let's say that the orange color here represents number of transactions. Red color represents the price. This represents like block size. So each color represents different type of data. And let's say that I have a decentralized exchange, and I'm just interested for now in the price changes. I want to provide some analytics. So what I would do is I would create a subgraph. In the subgraph, I'm going to manifest my need. I'm going to tell the subgraph what I want, and that is the red color, which is the prices. I will take the subgraph. I'm going to deploy it on the graph network, and then the graph is going to start collecting me all the data I want. That's it. All I have to do is to create subgraph, deploy it, and the subgraph is starting to collect me all the data I want. And then the next step for me to actually get this data is I would query the subgraph, and the subgraph is gonna give me back the data. So the way it works is that when we deploy the subgraph on the network, we will have something that's going here, looking, orange, we don't need it, boop. We need red, let's send it to our database. We are green, we don't need red, let's send it to our database. And we just collect the data that we want. And so this is kind of revolutionary for our times, because this is something that everyone in the space is asking for. Managing RPCs nodes, managing data, collecting blockchain data is something so hard, so complicated, and sometimes we wish that we didn't even start our project because of blockchain data. And so that's why we are here today. And this is why we are very, very excited of what I'm going to be saying next. Is my team, our teams, we worked very hard on that, is that we want to take the graph and give it to all the people in the space and like make their life easier. And so today I'm very proud to announce that the graph is coming to Cosmos. Yeah. Yeah. The graph is coming to Cosmos. And we are gonna make it. Yeah. What I really love about what we're doing here is that it's not about one protocol anymore. It's not about one of us or what this protocol is doing and what that protocol is doing. The protocols that they're gonna make it is the protocols that they're gonna communicate together. The protocols that they're gonna come together. They're gonna help each other. They're gonna support each other. And that's what we are doing here. We want to realize the multi-chain vision. And I know for a lot of people at Cosmos is the inter-chain vision, but we are looking at it from the graph perspective is we wanna add support to a lot of blockchains. So what we are actually doing is we are adding multiple blockchains, and that's why we are saying the multi-chain. And so this is what we want to do. We first launched on Ethereum, and we integrated recently Near, and now we are integrating the Cosmos ecosystem. And so what does it mean for everyone here in this room, the builders, the people that actually want to understand what's happening? So why Google was revolutionary and so important is because Google created a search engine for the internet. And this search engine was revolutionary because everyone could actually now query data and get it so fast and very rapidly and easily. And so this is what we're doing today. The graph is going to be the indexing and querying engine for the Internet of Blockchains, which is Cosmos. And so for everyone here that needs access to this data, you won't have to manage any more RPCs. You won't have to depend on dependencies on centralized data infrastructure. And you will be able to have a taste of the data of interconnectivity. So what's going to happen next when we start integrating all the different blockchains in the Cosmos Hub? So all these blockchains are interconnected by design of the Cosmos ecosystem. And what we're going to be doing next is we want to start indexing each blockchain. So applications that need access to different chains will just use the graph, and they will have access to all this sea of interchain blockchain. And we're going to become an infrastructure of data indexing and querying in this Internet of Blockchains. And this is something that we really believe in and we are really looking forward towards. And so the last thing I want to leave you with is that what is the next steps for people that want to use the graph, and what is the next step for builders who are looking to get this kind of data, infrastructure, indexing, and querying. It's so simple. We created tools for people that want to get in and start using the graph. You only have to build a subgraph, deploy it, and start getting access to this data. So we created something called Graph CLI, which is going to take you step by step about how you create your own subgraph. And then we have also the Subgraph Studio and the hosted service. And at Figment, we created something called Learn Pathway. So it would actually teach you how to build your subgraph, and you could get rewarded with the Graph Native token, which is the GRT. In 60 minutes, you will be able to learn how to build a subgraph, create your subgraph, deploy it on the graph network, and forget for your entire life about managing RPCs node and indexing blockchain data. That's it. That's my talk. Thank you, everyone.
Wait, Mike.